Hey everyone, welcome back to the whole podcast, KC. We have a couple more TWP employees here, and I will let them tell us about what they do here on a daily basis. First, we can get started with Nikki Connor, is our front desk receptionist.
Yeah. So, I basically am at the front desk and I answer phone calls and I help people when they come in. And yeah, I really like it.
She honestly gets everyone's day started super happy and chipper at 8 a.m. And we're all like, "How do you do that?"
How do you do it? Yep.
And she's just, yeah, a ray of sunshine
Oh,
when you
thank
first walk in.
you. Thank you.
All right, and then we have Anthony Sutton, our Medicaid billing manager, correct?
Yes, my name's Anthony Sutton. I do the billing, Medicaid billing for Kansas and Missouri. Um, yes, and basically that's what I do. All the Medicaid for Kansas and Missouri.
Got it. All right. So let's get right into it. So you guys have both had strokes, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So when and how did yours happen, Nikki?
So mine happened in April 28th of 2020 and it was right at the start of COVID, and I was living in Fayetteville, Arkansas at the time, and it was caused by a PFO, a hole in my heart, a birth defect that typically the hole closes up like a couple months after birth, but mine just never did. And so a blood clot went formed in my leg, went through this hole in my heart, went into my brain. And
Wow,
yeah,
that's crazy. So did you know that the hole didn't
no,
repair?
no.
Not until the stroke
Not
happened?
until the stroke happened.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what was how long were you in the hospital?
So I spent 10 days in the ICU and then like 2.5 weeks in inpatient rehab. And then I moved up to Kansas City back in with my dad. And I spent like 6 more weeks at outpatient at Ability KC.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Love that place.
Yeah. It's so great. And
Yeah, it
the
is.
driving program helped me learn how to drive.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what do you have any long-term effects from that?
Yes. So the stroke affected my right side, and I couldn't talk or read, and so um, total paralysis of the right side. And so I had to learn how to rewalk, learned how to use my arm. And at one point in the ICU, we were like, "We don't know if your arm is ever going to come back." So it
That's
was like
scary.
that daunting, like,
Yeah,
what if,
right.
But it's fine now. I
Yeah,
can move it.
it looks great. And, what did you bring in today? Um,
Okay, so this is my cast from, it's called Constraint Therapy Camp, and it was at Ability KC. And so you put this cast on your unaffected side and to force you to use your affected side. And I had to wear it like every day for like 2 or 3 weeks. And it it really like made me like work for it. It's like,
right, right. Yeah, I mean, therapy is hard. I've had a few knee surgeries, and I know that it's not easy, but
mhm.
the more you do it, the better off you're gonna be because you'll have more mobility in that joint or arm or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
Yeah, so I think it was effective if you have all motion and
Oh yeah, it was
that.
so effective and it's so pretty.
Yeah, I love it. All right, Anthony, what about you? What's your
Hello.
story?
Yes, I had a stroke. It was last year in September of 2023, and mine actually came from I had a case of high blood pressure, and they
Did
gave me
you know that you had high blood pressure before that?
I did know I had high blood pressure, and they gave me medication to take. And they told me, "Well, just if you feel kinda, lightheaded, just don't forget to take your medication." So I was like, so I kinda blew it off. and I didn't take
Oh, okay.
it. And which in turn, I had a symptom with stroke. And, I and mine, it didn't affect my right side; it affected my left side,
Mhm.
my body. And I was actually at work at the whole person, and that's when I was getting dizzy. So I had a blood clot form in my brain on the left side of my brain. And so they rushed me to the ER and everything like that, and that's when I was told I had stroke.
And what long-term effects do you have, or because
What
you were I know you were out of work for a while, like, what was it, 4 or 5 months?
it was like 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what I had to do, they had put me I was in ICU, of course,
Mhm.
when that first incident first happened. First, they had to kind of figure out what happened. So and that took like 2.5, 3 weeks. And so I was in there running a whole bunch of tests, and they weren't trying to make sure that's not gonna happen again, what have you. And then once I left from there, I went ICU, I went home from there. But then I didn't go straight to
Rehab.
therapy, I went in-home therapy.
Okay.
So while I was at in-home, they were showing me how to, exactly live at home, with the because I lost all, ability in my left arm and my left leg. So they started me there, and that was part of my process of me being off work,
Mhm.
and I was doing that. I did that for about 6 weeks,
Okay.
and, I'm just kinda being brief about it.
Yeah.
And once I did that, then now I'm in outpatient therapy, which is
So after
basically
that 6 weeks in home, were you
uh
able to move your arm and leg after
yes.
that? Yeah?
Mhm. Yep. I sure was. And then once I completed that, I graduated from in-home therapy to outpatient therapy.
Okay. Are you still doing that?
Yes, I'm still doing that continuously as we speak,
Okay.
every week, twice a week. And
Nice.
what they're doing is basically they got all my feeling from my left side. We're getting all got all that back
Okay.
and constantly doing therapy. I'll be doing therapy for another 3 more months.
Wow.
When it's all said and done, I went through when I did, I'm sorry, I skipped a part here. When I got a ICU, when I did my in-home, before I went to in-home, I was doing physical therapy inpatient. Then I went home.
Oh,
I
okay.
did that for 2.5 weeks.
Gotcha.
So I've basically been in therapy, um, since the whole time that
Ever since that
incident happened.
happened.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, the day that incident happened, me and a coworker, we were getting ready to actually go and do, um, some rugby, and, that's when it happened. Uh, we were, like, waiting to get our names called, and, I I bent down to pick up a pen, and it happened just
Oh, wow. So very quickly.
yeah.
So how does this, for both of you, affect your daily living and your daily routines?
Um, it's like the physical side, of course, I have some right side deficits, and you can only tell if you like know that I had a stroke. But for me, it's like I struggle with fatigue, and like I just get so tired, and it's like I'm sometimes depressed, and and just like my whole life changed, like our whole lives changed.
Yeah, for
Um
sure.
and so I used to work 50 plus hours a week at a restaurant, and then I couldn't.
Yeah,
And I was
makes
like,
sense.
what am I going to do? And so, yeah, and the emotional adjustment through it all
Mhm.
is, I think, the hardest part. Like, yeah,
That's a true eye opener. That
yeah,
is a true
it's like, okay, we can deal with our physical deficits, but the emotional, what's going on in here and trying to like reestablish our neural
Right,
pathways,
right.
it's
And live your daily life.
and live
Mhm.
our daily lives. And
Right.
I'm so proud of Anthony. He came back to work. It's like only after 4 months. It's like,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, I'm
awesome.
sure it's different for everyone, it affects differently.
Yeah.
Right, and we did learn that, and with a lot of people in society, they don't quite understand that each stroke is different to each person. Just
Right.
because you had a stroke, there's no way of saying, "Hey, you had a stroke, you got this," and you could. I've realized that some people have mini strokes,
Mhm.
and they might not notice it.
Right. Yeah, I've
You
heard
might
that.
be breathing hard or think, "Oh, I just need to sit down." That could be a mini stroke
Mhm.
if you're not on top of what's going on with your body.
Right. Right. You have to be in tuned
You
and
have to be in
listen to your
tune and listen
body.
to your body,
Mhm.
and that's one thing that I understood that,
Mhm.
and
Right.
I'm a little late, but I did understand it
Well,
now. I
now you
understand
know.
it now,
Yeah.
right? And as far as the emotional part of it, like me and Nikki was talking about that, it's a thing where you take a lot of things for granted. Look, little things you do every day,
Right.
and then it's like, wow, I can't do that. I can't. It's a struggle for me to do that now.
Mhm.
You
Right.
know, just like little things like before my therapy, just little things like,
Tie in your
uh,
shoe.
yeah,
Yeah.
tying your shoe. Yeah.
We had to relearn how to tie our shoes.
Mhm. It
I
isn't I didn't have to relearn. I had
Oh,
to get my, fingers and everything to
yeah.
wanna do
No.
those make those moves
Right.
to that I took for granted, something, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Doing that forever, didn't think nothing about it, and I was like, "Wow." And then, sometimes, you're like, "Oh, I got it," then you realize, "I really don't."
Mhm.
Right.
I can't do that right now. I can't I'm not there yet. And, that was one emotional things,
Yeah.
that you had to kinda, realize. And
Right. Would you say that was, like, the biggest struggle with your recovery is the emotional part?
Yeah.
yeah, that
I
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shock to you because you're going, "Wow," 'cause you do it every day and you don't think about it.
Right.
Just like, taking a shower. You don't think about it. You
Right.
just
Yeah.
Just get
It
in
take a
there and
shower.
do it, and now
But
it's
then if you have mobilities in your arm or your leg,
Mhm.
you just can't jump in there and take a shower. Well, you could jump in there and take a shower, but you're gonna
But
fall out.
Right. It's not
So
gonna be so easy.
it's not gonna be as easy as you think it is.
Right.
Yeah. Until you get your physical part, your body back up to where it needs to be.
Right. Right.
And I was originally right-handed, so I got like, okay, so I can't use my right hand anymore for like 3 or 4 months. So I had to rely on my left hand, which was so unnatural.
Right.
And it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
it was just
And I
that
totally take
mental
my hat right. Oh God, because
like
thank God that it was on my, you know, I was right-handed, so it didn't I could still
Oh, right.
use.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to totally learn how to redo everything,
Right.
and I caught it early enough to catch things that were still there.
mhm,
They could still come back and, bring it back to me,
Mhm.
and I just thank God that I was able to, filter through that, but it does get a little frustrating. I
Oh,
had to
for
learn how
sure.
to drive and everything like that, and, it was more of it's a little challenge, for you for a second because you gotta realize that it's not like it used to.
Right. And
yeah,
you're not gonna be able to just learn it right again overnight.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's gonna take
exactly.
That
time. You
was
have to be patient with yourself.
that
Yeah.
was my thought exactly. Like when I had my stroke, I was like, okay, give me
Yep.
a month or two of really intense therapy, and I'll be back to living my normal life in Fayetteville on my own, totally independent. Guess what? That didn't
That
happen.
ain't
So
gonna
did you go
happen.
back to Fayetteville at all afterwards? No? You just stayed
No,
here?
just to go back to clean up my apartment to move out, but it at the same time, it was a good thing that I moved out from that apartment because that is where I had my stroke, and I wasn't found for a whole day. So,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
That's scary.
yeah, and
I guess you lived alone then, right?
mhm, yeah, and
So what
thankfully,
was that like? Who found you?
so my boyfriend at the time, he Snapchatted me and the night before, and I still hadn't responded in the morning, and he was like, "That's not
That's
like
not
Nikki."
right.
And so, he called me, and I answered, and it and to him, it sounded like I was choking on air, and he said, "What drugs did you take?" I'm like,
Right. Like,
like, because I can't talk. And I was like, nothing. But so he called the ambulance, and somehow the maintenance man convinced the maintenance man to let him in my apartment. And there I was. I'm like, hello.
oh my gosh,
Oh,
that's
wow.
scary.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Nikki and Anthony. At TWP Catering, we are more than just mouth-watering sandwiches and salads. We're on a mission to make a difference.
How do we do this? By empowering individuals with disabilities to learn essential cooking skills through our Employabilities program.
Every bite you take supports a brighter future for someone striving to be more competitive in the job market.
TWP Catering, where every sandwich, salad, and dessert serves a purpose. Order with us and make a positive impact today. It's catering with the social conscious.
All right, welcome back to the whole podcast, Casey, with Nikki and Anthony. Okay, so we were just briefly talking. I didn't realize that you remember going to sleep that night
Mhm.
before it happened. What
Yeah.
were your symptoms that made you think that you would just sleep it off?
Uh, my right arm started to get really numb, and I was like, eh, I'll just sleep it off. And once I woke up, I'm like, my whole right side was like, I got up out of bed and I immediately fell onto the ground. I'm like, and that's where I stayed. I'm like, okay.
So
So,
were you conscious the whole time through it?
uh, I go in and out. Like, I would sometimes take a little 10-minute nap and then be like, what am I doing? But yeah, had no idea that I was even having a stroke. I didn't think about the possibility that I was even having a stroke. So it's like,
Did you even think about grabbing your phone and calling anybody, or you just kind of were trying to figure out what was happening?
so I thought I put my phone on my bathroom counter. And I remember crawling to my bathroom counter and I'm like trying to get my phone out and it wasn't there. I'm like, oh no. It's like, where is it in my apartment? And so it ended up being on my dining room table and I had a high top. So I had to practically knock the table over to get my phone
Because you couldn't stand.
because I couldn't stand. And then my boyfriend called me like a couple hours later and then
A couple hours?
yeah, because I had the stroke on April 28th. I wasn't found until the 29th.
Wow, that's scary. So when you got your phone, were you able to do anything?
Um I couldn't read and I I had my Face ID, so I knew that worked, but I literally couldn't operate my phone. It's like, okay. And so I tried texting and it was just a mess. It's like I didn't know who I texted, what I texted. It's just all scrambled.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's scary.
Yeah, it
That's a
is.
long time to be going through something like that and not realize it or
Yeah.
not know what to do or not being able to do anything, I guess. You're just helpless at that point.
Well, and then it's like, what did my neighbors think that was going on? It's like you I lived on the top floor, so there was an apartment below me
Mhm.
and the walls aren't that thick.
Right. In an
And so
apartment.
it's like, did you just hear me struggle for like a day and not like,
Come and check. Did you know your neighbor as well?
yeah, yeah. It, I had a dog, so I knew
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I saw all of them and
Right.
I said hi. So,
Right.
but
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So what about your guys' relationships with family and friends during this time?
I definitely got closer to my family.
Yeah.
Um, for my friends, um, yes, they did visit me, but it was during COVID, so they
Oh,
couldn't
right.
come and actually visit me. So they had to stand outside my window and we would talk on the phone. But it's like I I just couldn't partake. And I didn't really register what was happening. And
Did you
so,
recognize who they were?
yes, I recognized who they were. Um, but I just couldn't comprehend what they're talking about. And that was frustrating. And so, like, a lot of friendships, like, put on pause
Yeah.
during that. But my family, awesome.
Were
They,
they able to come in?
no,
No?
no.
Aw,
Yeah,
that's so
so it was
sad.
I know, it's like the hospital staff said, that the only way my parents could come in is if I was dying, and so they were like, "Good thing you're not dying." I'm like, "Haha, I'm 24 years old and I just had a stroke. I just wanna hug my parents,"
Right.
but
And then how long so let's see, was that when you were in ICU?
mhm.
And then so after that, you were able to see
So
them?
after that so the hospital was right down the street, like, not even a 2-minute drive from my inpatient rehab. So, I got out of the hospital, hugged my parents, and then immediately got transferred to my inpatient rehab where it was the same thing. You had to stand outside my window and
Mhm.
call. It's, like, literally, like,
You were
being
probably over it at that
Ye
point. You were like, "I
yes.
don't understand why we're doing this."
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like,
that's frustrating, I'm
at
sure.
least let me get one visitor.
Anthony, how was your relationship with your friends and family?
With my friends and family, it was different, for me, exactly, because it was more of a thing where my friends were always we're used to doing certain things together,
Mm.
and so those things, I couldn't really, do those things anymore. You know, like, we used to go hang out,
I
uh
mean, did they just assume you're gonna hop up and go hang out again
right? You'll be surprised how people actually assume that,
after having a
"Oh,
stroke?
you know, you had a stroke, you're fine now." You know, the doctor say you're cool. You're like, "Dude, I'm not cool.
Not
I'm
good.
not
I have
cool.
so many things I have to do," you
Right,
know?
right,
"Well, let's just go shoot some pool." I can't go shoot pool because my left side's not working right." So,
right.
you know, and it's little things like that. And then it's kinda like you're educating them on how, you know, what you went through and
In
the
the
process.
process of
Yeah, the process of right.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
first time I played pool with my friends, I bawled. Oh, I
Aw.
was like, I'm so frustrated with myself,
Yeah.
and I just can't do it. I just
So I'm sure you guys really learned patience during this time
Yes.
with
That's one
yourself.
thing I had to
mhm.
learn, and I was not
I
before
was
this
not.
accident, I was
Yeah,
not a
I
patient
understand,
person,
and
and
I'm
then
not
'cause I was so
either.
used to having things go quick, like, "Bam, I can do this. I can do that," and then it's like, "Whoa, hey," you know, you're thinking like, "Am I getting better?" You're like, "I am, but no, it's not like I used to," like,
Yeah.
it hasn't been that long, you gotta keep working at it,
Right,
you know?
right. So what type of support did you get from, like, the healthcare providers?
The ICU nursing staff was so sweet,
Yeah.
um, because I obviously get my nails done, for those who don't know.
Right. Oh, we know.
Yeah,
I'm
um,
always like, "How do you type with those?"
long practice.
And mine are, like, very short. That's just how I type. I just keep them short.
Mhm.
Um, but so I had long nails, and so I was my right hand was balled up in a fist, and I was cutting the
Oh,
inside of my palms.
yeah.
And so they were like, "We have to cut your nails."
Oh, no.
And I was like, "No, not my babies." But so one of the last days of me being in the ICU, all the nurses brought all their nail polish,
Oh my gosh.
and I got
That's
to pick
so
the
sweet.
color, and it was like day made. It's like,
I love that when people go above and beyond, you know? They don't
mhm,
have to do that kind of stuff.
no.
They do it because they care.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. That made my ICU experience all worth it. It's like, I I love y'all.
Yeah. It's
It
just a little bit of excitement in your daily
Mhm,
that helps get through.
mhm.
What about you? Did they come and do your nails, Anthony?
No, they
Yeah,
actually didn't do my nails.
but it
Yeah, I didn't have any nails issue when I was in there. But basically, what they would do with me, it was very helpful. They were giving me hints on uh, how to do, what to do to get better, like move certain way, move certain things, uh, to keep your uh, expenditures going. And I was like, oh, okay. So there's like, once you leave here, make sure you do this, make
Right.
sure you do that. And which was a gate, and they were always patient. They was like, "You gotta have patience,
Mhm,
you gotta have patience." And
Right.
that's one of the things that I learned from them was just being patient and being understanding as far as what your body can do and what your body can't do,
yeah,
and knowing those boundaries.
Right.
important.
And that was one of the key things I had to
There was one moment where, I had just begun learning how to walk, and I was in inpatient rehab, and, I was in a wheelchair, and my boyfriend at the time came to my window, and, uh, he was talking to me, and I was like, "Look what I can do," and I started standing up, and then I walked a few steps, and I immediately fell onto my bed, and he was like, "Don't do that again. D Unless you're being watched by someone, don't you dare do that." I'm
Yeah.
like, "But
Did you think that you could?
yes." It's like
You just
my
Yeah.
didn't understand.
independence.
see. That's one of the things that you have to learn
Yeah,
with the patience because you're so used to doing it,
yeah,
and you don't think nothing of it. Like you just think, "Oh, I feel okay today. I can." You
yeah,
might earlier that day could get up and move
mhm,
and walk over here, but another 2 hours, you might not be able to do it. You might go there, you might not make it back,
Yeah.
mhm,
you know? And it's one of the things that you gotta have that understanding with what your body can do. And the people around
yes,
you, they have to understand that too, because 'cause they'll be like, hey, sir, hey, here, grab this." And you're like, "I can't get over there and grab that." I don't because they're so
Right.
used to you
mhm,
coming
Being
over
able to
to
do
or being
everything.
able to do everything.
Right.
And that was one of the key things that you have to focus on and understand that's pretty much it's part of the growth process. Probably understanding what you've been through,
Right.
and just accepting it, like,
Right.
there's
Sure.
nothing it that happened, it sucks. Now
Yeah.
you
How
gotta
can I
fight
move
for it.
forward? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Makes sense. All right. So, what was most effective for you guys during your rehabilitation service? Like your rehabilitation part of your stroke, like the rehab, the therapy, friends and family. Like, what was most effective?
Um, I'll say the support system that I had from my family, like my mom and dad, when I wasn't in rehab, like because when I first moved to Kansas City, I had to wait to get into rehab at Ability KC for like 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Yeah,
So, you weren't
Yeah.
doing anything during that time, like
n-
rehab wise?
no, not really. But my parents were like, okay, we're gonna make uh my dad titled it Nikki's Fantastical Exercises,
Oh, I love that.
and it had like I had to do the hand cycle 10 minutes a day, 3 times a day, and it just like read out loud. And so we worked on therapy while I was waiting to get
Yeah.
into Ability KC.
That was a good move on your parents' part.
Yes, that
I
was an
know. Yeah,
excellent move.
yeah, it's my parents are awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my insurance didn't cover Ability KC. And so
Oh,
my rehab doctor had to send a letter to my insurance company and be like, "Hey, this girl needs like intense therapy."
yeah.
And so,
Did that work?
yep. Mhm.
Wow, that's
Yep.
awesome. That
And
doesn't always work. I've heard a lot
Right.
of stories.
yeah, so like
That's
I'm
ridiculous, though. It's like when you pay so much for this insurance and then you can't even get what you actually need, like
exactly. So I had like 42 hours of therapy, and and like PT would be an hour, OT would be an hour, speech would be an hour. And so I had to do all three therapies,
right.
and that just
Mhm.
eats away.
Yeah.
And then Ability KC, they had a whole day program where the full day is equivalent to 1 hour, and I did my 3 therapies and like 5 or 3 other activities. So it's like a whole day thing, but I only got it counted for 1 hour.
One thing I realize is, especially going through the circumstance that we went through, especially with the stroke, that the insurance is not set up actually for. It's the way I feel that for that person to get, you want to try to get everything back to where you used to be.
Mm.
Mhm.
They're just trying to get you back functional,
Right.
not the way you used to.
Right.
So the way it's set up, you got your physical therapy, your occupational therapy, and you're like, I need more time. I
Yeah.
can't do this and pay
Right.
for this in this certain amount of time.
I mean, what do they expect you to do? Just continue it on your own or what?
Yeah,
Or
well,
pay for it?
they'll tell you can continue on your own, but then they'll say, well, you could just apply for this or be put on this, and you're thinking, I want my independence. I
Yeah.
want to
Right.
be by myself like I used to. I don't want
Right.
to have to depend on this, or I want to be able to do it myself.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, well, we have well, you can get subsidized this or what have you. And you're like, no, just give me time. If I
Yeah.
keep working at it, I can, I can be okay.
Yeah.
Instead of having to depend on other people.
Right.
Um, you know, and the insurance like, well, we're only going to pay 60% of it, so you're on your own for the rest.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, that's
kind of makes it
frustrating.
kind of a downer on it. 'Cause
Right.
you're like, I'm trying to help myself. I'm not, I'm
Right.
used
You're
to,
working hard.
yeah,
I didn't
exactly.
ask for this.
I didn't ask for
Right.
this, right?
Hey, what perspective or what do you want people to know that haven't experienced this or know somebody who experienced this?
My perspective is basically saying like, stay in tune with your body. Pay attention to as far as if your body's giving you any sign. There's nothing wrong with going and getting checked out by a physician, or just if you have any questions, it's easier to ask
Yeah, for
than
sure.
actually didn't go through that experience.
Not knowing.
Not know.
It's better to know than not.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what about, is there any, like, tools or technology that helped through your guys' recovery?
Um, Mine, as silly as it sounds, it's like iPhone games or just apps. Like I had I still have a couple apps for processing speed, and I had to build up that up so I can drive again.
Yeah.
And so I just played like all these different app games on my
I
phone.
mean, it's a win-win, right? You're playing a
Yeah.
game, it's
Mhm.
helpful through your recovery.
Yeah. And oh, I
What
forgot.
about you, Anthony? Anything for you?
I think my things is more setting. I never really set too many before this accident with me or this incident happened with me. I never really set too many personal goals.
Yeah, it's
Small
important.
little personal goals, little
Mhm.
personal steps for you. And then that helped me out instead because I always looked at the big picture and
Right.
not the little small steps,
Takes baby steps.
and take baby steps and
Mhm.
patience, and that's a lot for me. It's helped me out a lot,
Right.
and don't be so down on myself. If I got little baby steps, I can, maybe this week I'll do this,
Right.
and then next week I'll try to do this
Do a little
instead of
more.
going, I want to conquer these and
Right.
jump way over there, and you're not ready to go over there.
Right.
And give
Right.
yourself some grace. It's
Yeah.
like
Right. Yeah,
give
exactly.
Just gone
yourself
through a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you have gone through probably one of the most difficult
Yeah, traumatic
health
experience.
experiences
Yeah.
that you can have. And so it's just really important to be patient with yourself, and I'm really hard on myself, and I had to learn how to forgive myself, I'm like,
You are so correct. Because at one point, I was very hard on myself too. Because
mm-hmm,
that goes to the line of you wanting to do everything that you're used to doing, and you can't do it, and it's frustrating initially at first.
Right.
And so I learned taking those baby steps. You'll get there. It's just not maybe as quick as
As you want.
you want to. It's the
Right.
patience that that comes
Right.
in. As long as you got a good support system, you can. And don't if everybody's gonna have setbacks. That's gonna happen.
I mean, that's
As
just
long
in
as you
life
stay,
in
yeah, that's in
general.
life in general. Yeah,
I
and
mean, you
stay and
always
try to
need to
stay
have goals for
positive.
yourself,
mm-hmm,
Right.
short term, long
Short term,
term,
long term.
and then like, what are you doing to work towards those goals? Like what are
Right.
your everyday.
Correct.
And Nikki, what about you? I mean, I know you kind of
yeah.
recognize some goals there, but I know you do some competitions.
Yeah, so I actually okay. So I actually went to St. Louis this the other weekend, and I participated in the DASA Gateway Games, which DASA is the Disabled Athletes Sports Association.
Wow,
And
awesome.
yeah, so it was really cool just being with a whole bunch of other disabled athletes. And it was really overwhelming for my first um
Just like a lot of people or what you had to do
just a lot of people. I didn't know what I was gonna do. Like, um,
as far
but
as like the sporting events.
yeah, I knew like so I was doing para powerlifting and the javelin and the shot put and the discus and the long jump. I think I did like a total of 6 things.
That's so
Um,
much.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I've
Exhausted
I've
after that.
never been in the athletic girly before, but yeah, so I got
You are now.
uh,
Which
Mhm.
yeah, so I got this medal
Oh, that's
for
so awesome.
Hey,
Congrats.
powerlifting.
That's
congratulations.
so
Yeah.
exciting.
Um, and yeah, it's like I scratched my first 2 times, but I like lifted my 3rd time, so that was really cool.
That's so
Um,
exciting. Did you ever think you'd be able to do something like that?
no.
Was
Mm-mm.
it a goal you set for yourself or was it just kind of
Uh,
Kate pushing you?
Kate Kate really pushed me. Like I've been doing
That's
it
what she's supposed to do though, right? She's a coach.
exactly. So I've been doing CrossFit 3 days a week with her, and then Kate was like, "Hey Nikki, do you want to participate in track and field?" And I was like, "Yeah." And my dad was the track and field
Yeah, I remember
coach,
you telling me that.
and it has been so much fun training with him. It's
Yeah.
like a good bonding
Yeah,
time,
for sure.
um, an hour out of every day, and it's like, okay, let's go shoot some stuff.
That's awesome.
Throw some stuff. Yeah.
Well, good for you. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
So hopefully it it continue it
Yeah,
continues.
keep going.
Yeah.
Keep pushing. All right, guys, thanks so much for being here with us
Thank
today.
you.
We really appreciate your time and hearing your stories, and it's always great to get to know coworkers a little bit better.
Yeah, thank
And thank you.
you.
Yeah, and thanks for having us. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. All right, as always, we have rock climbing for Saturday of the month. We have bowling the third Wednesday of the month. You can always get on our website at thewholeperson.org, go to the calendar section, check out all of our events happening. Also, we have our signups for our Big Dill tournament. We have a pickleball and cornhole tournament at Chicken and Pickle in Overland Park, and you can now sign up for that. If you go to thewholeperson.org/big dill. And thanks for being here with us today, and we'll see you next time.